Last week, we talked a little bit about finding your purpose and kind of talked a little bit about my journey in finding my purpose and what that looks like and what that might look like for you. This week, we're going to continue the discussion on finding purpose and we're going to look at it from a younger perspective. Somebody who's in the middle of kind of questioning where they want to go and what they want to do. And we'll talk to him about some challenges, just kind of get a different perspective on it because perspective's a big thing in mental health and figuring out where you want to go and what you want to do. So stay tuned. Welcome to the podcast today. Thank you for being here. This podcast is Purpose Continued. And the main reason is because I was having a conversation with my daughter recently, and she was asking me questions about finding her purpose, and we kind of were diving into that a little bit. And I thought, oh, what a great podcast, a rabbit hole to go down, is to get a younger person's perspective, somebody who's kind of going through those questions and all of the things to do with finding purpose. And so today I have a very special guest with me, Noah Teal.
Thanks for having me. Rabbit hole's one way to put it when
Yes.
talking to me.
Noah and I have had some pretty in-depth conversations a lot lately about purpose, and I kind of just wanted to bring him on to kind of get his perspective. He's a lot younger, and it's kind of in the middle. I mean, tell a little bit about your story.
Well, I mean, so from about 5 years old on, I knew I was going to be a guitar player. Come around 16 years old, I knew I was going to be a guitar player and a singer. And then come around 18, or well, no, even earlier than that, maybe a year or two after I became a singer, I knew I was going to be a guitar player, a singer, and a writer, a songwriter. And now, even more recently, I'm kind of going, well, I'm showing some interest just naturally in doing some other creative work. Like, I actually messaged a actor friend of mine to kind of just pick his brain about what acting is like. I've jokingly said for the 20 years of my life that I'm a big Batman fan, and if they were to ever do a Batman movie, TV show, game, I don't care what it is, where Scarecrow's a part of it, I'm your guy.
You're
I
right.
have no acting ability that I know of, but I'm your guy. I just love it so much. And now I'm beginning to take that a little bit more seriously and going, well, maybe it can't be. Maybe it doesn't need to be a joke. Maybe I've got a little bit of a goal here.
Yeah.
But on top of that, just I've always loved creative work. I've known since, like I said, 5 years old, I was not going to be blue collar. I was not going to be white collar. I was going to be no collar, whether it's in front of a camera or on stage under lights or whatever. It's just some form of creative artwork.
Yeah. Actually, we just had the conversation earlier this week, and I wrote it down because I would forget my brain. And you had actually said this, and I was like, we need to talk about this. Knowing what you don't want is just as important as knowing what you do want. So I kind of want you to kind of dive into that a little bit and explain what you meant by that.
The easiest way to explain it is when you're in the family car going to dinner, everybody's going to say what they don't want before they ever get to what they do want. But it is important to know what you don't want.
Yes.
Because at least you're eliminating options.
Yes.
I'm a positive guy. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. But one area that's good in terms of a negative thought is, what don't I want?
Yeah.
What don't I want to be a part of? What do I not want to do? I think going back to, like I said, about blue collar, white collar, I've kind of always known that's not for me. It's one of those that sometimes you just know, sometimes you experience it, and then you go, yeah, this is probably not it. But I eliminated two big options, so there's plenty of other things out there. But I think, knowing what you don't want when involving purpose, whether that's a career or a passion or something like that, sometimes it's trial and error of trying something. I would even add attached to that, be willing to explore. And it kind of bleeds into another one, but be willing and be accepting that it might not work.
Yes. The failure piece.
Yeah.
We talked about that. A lot of people, and what was it that you coined the term? Failure isn't an option. And I heard that my whole life. And I said that to myself my whole life too. Like, failure's not an option. It's not an option. It's not an option. Like pushing towards that perfectionism. And you were like, but actually it is an option. We need to flip that and look at it as an option, because our failures are what molds us. And if you don't fail, how do you ever learn and grow?
As a little green dude from a galaxy far, far away once said, failure, the greatest teacher it is. And I think that's, if you look at if you look at any story ever, at some point the hero fails. They got to pick themselves back up, and it's only after that failure that they succeed. Sometimes you get it right the first time. If you look at my school history, that was never the case, but some kids were smart enough that they just got math right the first time. It was more like the 101st time for me, and that, same. Again, if it takes you 101 times, that's totally okay. My sister is an example of somebody who is never afraid of trying anything. She's at one point in life was a professional wakeboarder, professional wrestler, professional race car driver. Now she's looking at being a professional tattoo artist. I've always admired and almost sometimes been a little jealous, because it kind of feels like she can pick up anything and be instantly good at it. Like she's just got that, whether it's an awareness or a talent. I think some people have a talent to be a jack of all trades. I'm one of those that I have to go to work at it. And that's totally cool too. But I think, just trying anything, being open to, and this is something that it took me a while it took me 5 or 6 years. As a musician, when I first started taking it more seriously, I was a very close-minded blues musician, in the sense of, well, anything made past 2000 is not very good. If it doesn't have guitars, it's not real music. And what I began to kind of discover was that's not the case, because I started to not get bored with blues, but I started to want to find something else. It just no longer was speaking to me in the way that it previously was. And sometimes you just got to pick up your stuff and, you got to gypsy it a little bit, pick up your stuff and move to the next place. Yeah. Now I can very safely say I have Snoop Dogg and Eminem downloaded on my phone, and I don't think there's guitar in most of any of their songs if it's not a sample. So growth is, if get anything out of exploration, it is growth. Absolutely. And that is healthy.
Absolutely. One of the things I've said, probably post brain tumor recovery, was, I don't want to be on my deathbed and say, I wonder what...
I wish I could have done that.
Yeah. I wonder what would have happened if I opened that restaurant. I wonder what would have happened if I became a therapist. I don't want that. I would rather try and fail than not try at all. And I think that's a key thing when we're looking at purpose. Is you have to try... Most people have to try a multitude of things.
Well, I know for me, I had kind of maybe even just talked myself into thinking that, well, music is what I'm good at, or what I was maybe saying to myself but wasn't realize I was saying to myself is music's the only thing I'm good at. So this is make or break it, because I had friends and colleagues and people that see me as one of their own ask me, what's plan B in case music doesn't work out. And my answer was always the same: there is no plan B. The moment I have a plan B, plan A doesn't work. I'm going to put everything into this. And I think there's a little bit of truth in that, because I go back to, I knew at 5 years old. There is video of me at even earlier than that on my bed air guitaring to Jimmy Buffett songs. Like,
Oh.
it, yeah.
I won't judge you for that.
Like, it could have been Van Halen, but no, it was Jimmy Buffett, because that's what you totally, like, shred air guitar to.
I mean,
Look, I was always a weird kid, but still am.
I do have a question, though. What made you choose guitar over, say, drums or bass?
Well, ironically, I like to, when somebody asks me about that, my publicist version of what I say is, well, my grandfather on my dad's side was a drummer. There's somewhere in the universe there is a recording of him playing Magic Carpet Ride at like his high school dance in the 60s.
Love that.
One of these days we're going to find that. Then my dad, drummer and songwriter, and pretty dang good at both. And I'm not just saying that because he can hear me through this microphone. I'm saying that because it's legit. He's pretty dang good at both.
I've heard that from other people.
I decided that I was going to screw it all up and become a guitar player, because they put me behind a drum kit. It lasted all of 4 or 5 days. One talent show. That's what it lasted for. I played one talent show at my elementary school, and I did a single drum fill.
Okay.
So like 5 or 6 notes, maybe even less. But the crowd lost it from what I've been told. And I guess just that moment clicked of, ooh, I want to do this. I want to make people do that. So they encored me to do a second time. But I don't know what it was at that time. Again, I was 4 or 5 years old, but it's funny going back to that Buffett video of me air guitaring along to Margaritaville or whatever it was.
Cheeseburger in Paradise?
It may have been Finn's. I think I got a sneaking suspicion it was Finn. So at least it was one of the more rockin' songs.
Okay.
But I was air guitaring, not air drumming. I wasn't air keyboard. And air guitar's the most common. It's
I don't know. I can do a
yeah. I mean, we can all do. We can all do steering wheel
Put
drums.
some Phil Collins on, man.
Yeah,
and I'm air drumming away.
there's videos of Neil Peart, the drummer for Rush, talking about playing air drums to the turn clicker in your car where it goes.
Yes.
And that's your tempo.
Yes.
But I guess there was just I guess at least from that video of 3-year-old Noah, guitar was meant to be. And I still think it is, and it's just nowadays it's becoming, and this has been the case for 5 or 6 years now. It started out of, well, this is my end all be all. I envisioned myself playing for whoever on a stage. You would never hear me open my mouth. I was just playing guitar. But then I got coaxed into by my 8th grade history, or what would become my 8th grade history teacher. She wasn't even my history teacher at that point. I was still in like 6th or 7th grade, but we had become friends, and I talked to her to this day. She had kind of coaxed me into singing on a song, "Wish You Were Here" by Pink Floyd. They said, "Man, you sound a little bit like Bob Dylan." I was like, "Okay, that's cool." I then proceeded to get legit vocal lessons at a studio, and they said, I don't remember how it even came up in conversation, but he said, the number one vocalist you don't want to take any, you don't want to look at as a good example of what it is to sing is Bob Dylan. And I was like,
he's an amazing songwriter.
one of the greatest lyricists and storytellers, music or not, of all time. It will go down.
I will argue Jason Isbell's up there as well. But
Jason Isbell is up there, but I think Bob has just he's got tenure. He's got I mean, how many Bob Dylan songs can you name that it not because of Bob Dylan? Like Along the Watchtower is maybe I'll say All Along the Watchtower is my favorite Jimi Hendrix song. There's just always been something about it that is like, yes. And of course, 8-year-old Noah, who'd never, heard of Bob Dylan at the time, not because of anything wrong, but I was like, well, it's a Jimi Hendrix song. Come to find out later, it's this, Bob Dylan dude.
An Adele song. She does a cover of "Make Me Feel Your Love." He's the original to that, and I had no idea.
Oh, the amount of songs he's written is insane.
Yeah. But that was one of those things.
One of those like, man, I wish I had like 2 of them. Because I could retire right now and call it a day. But
so so you knew early on you were going to be a musician. You knew you were going to do guitar.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start to really question, is this the end all be all?
You know, it's funny. I think the thought is always in the back of your head, because we all had that little pessimistic voice in the back of our head that's questioning everything, and
Yes.
and eventually you have to go, just shut up.
That's
like,
the
you know,
ego.
just shut up. Like, it's like reverse ego.
Yeah.
Like, it's trying to bring you down. What I'm like, but I think it's one of those that when, I sometimes think about, especially when I was in like middle school and stuff like that, I was definitely, long haired hippie people need not apply. I was quite literally long hair rocker dude, at a very private, very Christian school that prided themselves off of sending football players to UGA. So I stood out a little bit, and it never got physical or anything like that, but they just I just felt like the feeling was given off that I was definitely different for what they're.
You didn't belong.
Yeah. Luckily, I had some amazing people there, teachers and staff-wise. Like the principal for most of my middle school years, Dr. McRae, was awesome. I always felt seen by her, and always felt like, at a time in my life where, most of the people, at least at school, I felt like I was lesser, or not even, maybe that's not even the right way to put it, but like felt like I wasn't made to feel as important as the rest of the class. Then, she made a point in everything to make me feel like I was just as important, and like I could trust her. And I had several teachers like that too. And the ones that come to mind are like my sixth and seventh grade English teacher, Miss Samuels, my math teacher, Miss Dory, as in Dory the fish from Finding Nemo. She was awesome. But the one that I keep up to the most, at least to this day, is my 8th grade history teacher, or Georgia history teacher, Miss Maria Davis, who I think I just had dinner with her in the last week or so.
Amazing. That's amazing.
And she kind of started me on maybe the path of branching out, because of just accidentally recommending, well, why don't you sing a Pink Floyd song at this tiny little fall festival at our school and see what happens? So I think maybe the seeds were even planted all the way back there of, it wasn't even the best way I can put it is like, it was a positive of maybe I was shown that I was something more.
Like a positive push.
Yeah, like
I didn't think of that.
Well, I think I had kind of gotten it in my head. I didn't know I could do that. Like, not because anybody told me that I couldn't, but maybe I had told myself because I didn't know any better. I had never tried anything. Like I said, my sister was, I'm willing to try anything. I was
fearless.
I'm going to stick to the 3 or 4 things I know. To this day, I still keep up with my 2nd grade best friend. And for most of elementary school, middle school, and he moved to Colorado and Texas, and from 2nd grade, at the end of 2nd grade, he moved away. He was still the person I talked to the most. So when I got something, I kind of stuck to it for a little while, and right around, the beginning of to
Sounds
middle
like
of middle
you struggled
school.
with change a little bit.
Well, I think so.
Your sister's the opposite.
My
She's like
sister
all
is
in.
well, it's funny. We've kind of not shifted, but she is, I think maybe her as an example a little bit of, trying new things.
And that can also be intimidating.
Oh.
On the flip side of that coin, when you have a sibling that is balls to the wall, gung ho, we'll try anything, we'll jump off of buildings, we'll do anything, it can be intimidating for the person who maybe struggles with change, or who's like, oh, I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, when she was a wakeboarder, I tried it. And after the 3rd time falling on my face and deciding it
you.
hurts, like, I think sometimes I have in my past been really easy to quit on things. I go back to, and not that I would change any of it, but like I go back to when I played baseball for that long, like most young sons in the southern United States, we were baseball players or little league players.
Right.
I remember the first time I ever faced a kid pitcher. My first ball, I got nailed in the rib cage. Like I did not know they could throw major league speeds.
So
at this
baseball
age.
wasn't your destiny.
So I immediately went, yeah, this is not it. This is not for me.
But you tried it.
But
and
I tried
there's where
it.
that
Yeah.
failure is an option. Like that's one of those things, even at a young age that you're talking.
Yeah, and I think, even looking back, I surprised myself on a couple things, but some of it was not even forced, but I was coaxed into it. Like my mom
for people
kind
who
of
struggle with change. It's
you kind of need that
always,
push. You kind of need that push,
coaxing.
and that's okay.
Yeah,
Sometimes
absolutely.
everybody needs that push. Sometimes,
Absolutely.
like I swam in middle school, competitive swim. I was not going to be Michael Phelps, but I also wasn't half bad at it. I don't know. Honestly can't remember if I ever won a race or anything like that, but I do know I at least came second or third against 5, 6, 7, 8 kids. I was good at freestyle, and that was pretty much it. But hey,
you were still good at that.
Hey,
And
I'll
you
take
tried
that.
it,
Yeah,
and you did
I'll
it.
take it. And what I it was probably the best shape I ever been. One of the few
Swimmers are in
times I can
amazing
remember
shape.
being like, oh, I'm cool all of a sudden at that middle school was, for whatever reason, that yearbook from like 6th grade or 7th grade, there were maybe 3 photos of me in the entire yearbook, which was probably the most I was ever in any yearbook outside of elementary school.
Uh-huh.
The first photo of me was the class, like they do all the classmates with all the names. The other 2, somehow miraculously, were both of me shirtless at swim meets. And apparently, I didn't realize that I was pretty phically fit while doing
swimmers
it.
are,
Oh yeah, I mean, it will keep you in shape.
Yes.
And it does not take a lot.
No.
I was not doing 4 hours a day at it. I was doing 45 minutes a day at it, and I was or 45 minutes 2 days a week even at it, and so that was the first time that my classmates
noticed
kind of
like,
looked at the
whoa.
yearbook and looked at me and went, "Dang, son!" Like I remember what seat and what classroom I was in when everybody kind of discovered it, because I wasn't flipping through.
Do you remember the feeling?
Oh, I mean, it was a very similar feeling to what I felt that first time I performed, where it's
That's
like, ooh,
what I
I'm
was-
cool. Like, all of a
I
sudden
like
I'm the cool
this.
guy.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But and differently in the, like, the guys and girls are talking about me in a very different way than they normally. I'm the weird kind
the
of
weirdo.
outcasty, dude. Now all of a sudden, I mean, it lasted all of a week, but it was a week.
Still was the
Yeah.
best week of your life.
Yeah, at that time, at least when it came to interaction with people my age, it probably was the best. But like I can even remember the couple of times I played guitar at the school for different things. There were at least a portion of the classmates that were like, "Oh, this is totally cool." Like we see, sometimes,
But I want
we
to
see what
pause.
you
Yeah,
see.
I want to pause you because I want to fast forward because I know your story. Y'all don't, but I do. And I want to talk. I want you to talk about your time with the Zach Brown Band
Yeah.
and how your progression to that and following with that guitar musician dream, like go there and talk about that, because that's got to be a dream in itself. Or
100%. I mean, that, the term that I'll probably come back to at the end is the top of the mountain, at least for, when it comes to at least for me as a musician, the 2 tops of the mountain are releasing your own music that you put your words into and stuff. And I had
It's
a
like your
lot of
heart and
help.
soul.
Yeah. And I'll admit I had a lot of help. But I think I needed that help because I had never written a song in my life before that point. But in addition to that, the other side of the coin is live. You know, whether it's the biggest venue
Well,
or a
there's a rush,
particular
yeah.
venue. Like for me, it's the Sphere in Las Vegas. I saw you two there and was like, oh my God, this has got. I
This
have
is
to be.
it,
I
yeah.
have to play this place before I'm dead and gone.
Yeah.
I don't care if I'm 85 when I do it, but I got to do this. The effect Bono will have on you.
Oh,
But
yeah, for 100%.
yeah,
100%.
but you know, so at the tail end of 2019, I had ordered a guitar for all guitar friends, a Carina Flying V from a custom builder in North Georgia here in the mountains. And not knowing who I like, not he thought I was like some 70-year-old collector just because we were talking over email. There were no photos.
Okay,
There was
he had
no
no reference.
like he had no idea who
context.
I was until I said, "Hey, me and my grandpa are going to come by your shop." And he's like, "Grandpa, how old are you?"
Yeah.
And I was like, I was probably 14 or 15 at the time with knowledge of very nerdy guitar specs that most 50-year-olds don't even have. And so I came in there, you know, and he was like, what is this? Or he at least took enough interest in me to never having heard me play or anything like that. He said, I think I want to make you one of my artists on the roster, and you're right alongside the guys from Mastodon and the guys from the Zach Brown Band. Marcus King, if you know who that is. Local heroes, Blackberry Smoke, who were big inspirations, especially at the time.
Yeah.
That I can call several of them now friends because of this connection. And of course, I was like, "Don't you want to hear me play first? Like, make sure you know if I'm going to invest in something, I want to make sure you make money. You know,
Right.
like not that he was going to make money off of me, but like I wouldn't want to be sure that." This is a worthy investment.
But again, back to somebody believing in
Yeah.
you and somebody just saying, "Hey,
Yeah,
you got this." Like your teachers that you're talking about.
yeah,
This-
and
this
that was.
person-
I think that was. That instilled a lot of confidence. I'm definitely when even at the time we kind of said this when you champion me, I'm definitely going to champion you in return. And it's not I'm only going to interact with you if you love and go crazy about me. No, it's when somebody takes that extra 10% in me, I see that as an investment, and I want to do what I can to, match that. And sometimes we fall on our ass and sometimes we don't.
Win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So through the guy that owned the company and built he was a one-man operation, and made some of the best stuff, and he still does, but he introduced me to one of the guys from the Zach Brown Band, Coy, just as a man, I really think this is somebody, I really feel like I need to introduce you to this guy. And you two need to talk kind of moment. Yeah. And so we talked, and Coy, kind of left our first conversation with, write 5 songs and get back with me, and we'll see where we're at. And of course, I got off the phone call and was like,
Oh crap.
What? Huh? And I'm like, okay, this guy has Grammys, so I have no idea even what he like. I think the more daunting thing was not the actual writing of the material, even though I had never done that before.
Yeah.
It was, what level is he about to expect? Like, is he expecting? Because I don't even know how to record. Like, the best record. I literally wrote maybe 2 halfway complete songs, and my record of them was videoing myself with my cell phone. Like, that's as much as I
start
knew.
Somewhere.
Yeah, you got to start something.
Right.
You got to use the tools you have.
Yes.
I am definitely I am a big advocate of, if you have a tool and you have a person, you have a connection, use it to your advantage.
100%.
Don't take advantage of it, but use it to your advantage.
100%.
Needless to say, those 5 songs did not make it to Coy, but he somehow, for whatever reason, stuck around. I think just we had gotten to talk a bit more, and he, again, another person that kind of saw a spark.
Yeah.
And he kind of just after a while started talking to my parents about I think we need to capitalize on this and we need to make an album. And I guess I missed it because like halfway through the writing process, I was like, they kind of talked about the album and I was like, wait, album? What are you talking about? I'm like, did I miss something? Like, and so I fully think I fully think the writing on the wall was there, but I was not reading it.
Yeah.
But
You were also preoccupied because you were writing for the first time, and you were challenged. You were challenged.
The thing the thing that is funny about it is we were learning the recording software together. Literally, he's looking it up as he's teaching it, and it's all over Zoom because this is the middle of COVID. Hence why Coy had the time to take a 14-year-old under his wing in the first place and wasn't writing the next Chicken Fried and touring the entire planet.
Right.
And so timing everything.
Absolutely.
One thing us Teals have is timing. That's something my mom and pretty much everybody in my family's always said is timing's our thing. But and so we I took between me, my dad, Coy, and another friend of ours, Nikki, who is a songwriter herself and amazing at it.
We were listening to her before we came on air.
Not because of the tone of her voice, but just that like real raspy, like very Janis Joplin-ly.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because of how she sounds. Like she doesn't sound like a Janis Joplin impersonator, but has got that style.
Yeah.
That very,
Melissa Etheridge.
Gypsy rock.
Melissa Etheridge has that like raspy kind
it's that
smoker voice.
Yeah,
it's
smoker
like
voice.
Like
and I'm like, I don't even think Nikki smokes, but she's definitely got that voice.
Yeah.
Some people just have it, and those people piss me off. Having my little clean baby voice. But and so flash forward to 2021, we finally are in the studio recording, and they brought in. It was all friends of Coy's, but you look at the rap sheet of some of these guys, and you go, holy cow, this is almost a little daunting. Like,
intimidating.
Like one of them was one of the drummers for Tedeschi Trucks, Falcon, who is, oh my God, one of the most fun human beings I have ever been. If I was over 21, it would be 4 times as much fun, and it was already as a blast.
Doesn't that make it so much more fun when you have like personalities?
Yeah,
that, just bring it all out.
And I think what helped it is I was little brother. And that's what they said from the start was, you're gonna be, we're gonna make you one of us, and that was something that I was equally excited about, but also didn't know what to do with, because I was like,
what?
Okay, what does that mean? And so I think I was beginning to get an image in my head of what that looks like, or just trying to think about what does that look like? Where does that take me?
So here you are living your dream, literally, since you were 4 or 5 years old.
This is what I've worked every day towards.
You literally have had in your mind this.
I manifested this
plan.
Shit. Yeah.
You manifested it, and it's happening. And you record the album, and then, boom. Drop the mic. I don't know.
Well, I think even more so in that it was the way I described it to you is there's a line. Again, I'm a big Batman fan. Yes. I go to the Joker, Heath Ledger's line in The Dark Knight. I'm like a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know quite what to do with it if I caught one. And what I think there was when I finally achieved that top of the mountain.
Yeah.
I was kind of like
at the age of
15, 16.
Which
and when it finally released, I was also going through some, crazy
life stuff.
Some life stuff and some even that was even it kind of messing with my health and stuff like that. So it was I was already in a very confusing situation when the greatest thing to ever happen to me happened. And I remember, where I was when I woke up and, just kind of sat on the porch in Florida and realized I've done it, and there was that there was that relief, but then there was almost a little bit of like
A void.
well, not even a
Shoot,
void, but
what's
maybe a
next?
little bit of an anxiety rush of what do I do now? Like, because
Now what?
yeah, now what? And again, that can be very exciting, and it can also be very
Well,
daunting.
Excitement and anxiety.
Yeah,
Same.
it was the butterflies thing you talked about.
It's the same feeling.
Yeah, and so I didn't think about it really at the time, but I think the thought was placed.
Yeah.
Was you know, music is always going to be a part of my life, and it's going to be a very big part of my life. It
Yeah. has
has literally gotten me through the first 20 years of my life, maybe more so than anything else.
Absolutely.
It is in the times of middle school where I was being bullied and kind of felt like I was more alone than ever. It was the guiding light of, well, if you can just get past this, you can achieve that, you know.
Oh my gosh, I totally want to do like a whole separate podcast on the importance of music and mental health. Because where
I've-
words fail, music speaks.
I've been call me.
I have, yeah, absolutely. I have a tattoo on my arm that says "Music is life."
Yeah. It's
and
the
I
universal
don't
language for
play
a reason.
or sing or anything, but it has been pivotal in my world.
Yeah.
Pivotal.
And so I think there was that, again, that tiny little pessimistic or, you know, voice in the back of your head where you goes, is this it? And I think that's what I asked myself was like, okay, I had gotten to the place that I wanted.
Yeah.
I was playing live music.
Check.
I was playing my own music. I had an album with my face on it.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, okay, this is great. But
Now
is
what?
this all I want? Like, is this? I think there was even a little, and then I kind of started going down the rabbit hole of changing genres. Like, I went from blues to southern rock to country, country to rock, rock to pop, pop to whatever the heck. You know, just I felt like for a couple years I just was bouncing all over the place and couldn't find, almost having a little bit of an identity crisis maybe.
Yeah.
Because like
You'll have several of those.
I had talked to a legitimate cowgirl for a week.
Okay.
We went on our first date. 12 hours later, never heard from her again.
It happens.
You know, it happens.
Yeah.
But I had a cowboy hat and was wearing cowboy boots, and at the end of it, I went,
Nope.
this is not who I am. Like, you know, I was, and I can look back and go, okay, you know, this was who I was at that point in life. And then sometimes I go, I don't know what the heck I was thinking. You know, because my joke with me being into country music was like, I like 3 country artists: Eric Church, Dierks Bentley, and Keith Urban. Throw in some Brad Paisley, and I could probably call it a
You totally
day.
aged yourself 1,000% on those, because I'm like, I don't know any of those. I mean, I would be
Oh,
like,
yeah, I know. It's
Johnny
the-
Cash and
Oh, well, and I love Johnny Cash and stuff like that. It's
Reba
for whatever
McEntire.
reason,
Like, I would
yeah.
be like,
for whatever reason, older country music didn't hook me like that. Those 4 or 5 artists that I really liked did. And I saw Eric Church and was like, this is the guy I'm gonna be. And then I saw Bono and I was like, this is the guy I'm gonna be. And then I saw Chris Martin of Coldplay. I was like, this is the guy I'm going to be. And then I saw Phineas O'Connell, who's Billie Eilish's brother, and like, this is the guy I'm going to be. And
so it changed.
it changed a lot. And I actually am proud of myself in the sense I was very open to that change of because then it became like I became genreless. And there's a lot of fun in that. There's a lot of fun in going, well, I can do whatever the heck I want. I mean, during one of our shows, we played Taylor Swift. We played Cult of Personality. We played Springsteen by Eric Church. We played, you know, an old Fleetwood Mac song pre-Stevie Nicks. We would play B.B. King. You know, we did a variety of things. And everybody in the music industry is going to tell you, well, you can't do that. I don't know. It looks like I just did that.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody, I remember even having an interview for the album, and she kind of looked at me like I had lost all my marbles when I said I don't really have an interest in Nashville. And I was being honest and just like, I've been to Nashville. It's
probably
great.
don't
It would probably be
hear
a
that.
blast to live in, but it's just not. it's just not my. I
not
just
your-
didn't
it's not your
gravitate
jam.
to it. Like for whatever reason, I just wasn't called to it.
That's that intuition that we talked about
yeah.
in the last episode, where just that knowing that you knew when you were 4 that you were going to play guitar. You knew.
Yeah.
Like there was just and you knew that you were not going to play drums. Like,
Yeah.
it's like that it's that knowing.
It's trust in your gut.
It's trusting your gut. It's
I have always had a very good sense of myself. I've always had
You're self-aware.
I've always had a connection with, we've joked about whether it's God, Muhammad, higher power,
the universe,
save me,
any-
Stanley.
whatever, yeah.
I've always been very in tune with that, and I go back to around the same time that album came out is when I kind of started getting that real awareness and real connection to it, just because of some other unrelated things that were going on.
Yeah.
I remember the exact moment it happened, and I'll forever remember it. But I've always been.
I would also, I'm going to interject here for
No,
one
you're
quick
fine.
second and say, when you and I first met, I immediately picked up that you were neurodivergent, and I would say there is a direct correlation between neurodivergence and spirituality. I think people who are neurodivergent, because their brains operate
Oh, the smart ones are usually nuts.
or operate so
That was a joke. That was not arrogant.
because their brains operate differently. I think there's a stronger spiritual connection, because I hear from a lot of my clients that are ADHD neurodivergent, where they're like, I've always been more spiritual.
Well,
or
I
I've
think
always felt that
there's
drop.
when like again going back to feeling like an outcast. It may feel like an outcast because maybe you are, and it's
And that's a
totally
good
okay to
thing.
be.
And that's a really
Frankly,
good thing.
I joke all the time about some particular things and styles that guys and gals that here in the southern United States gravitate towards for, the majority of people. I'm like, can't we find some uniqueness? Like being unique is so fun. Like, doing your own thing.
Yeah,
and
and my take on that is I'm just going to do me.
Yeah.
Like I'll be the unique one.
Yeah, and that's the way I, when I'm a little bit of a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
And one of the wrestlers, CM Punk, when I first started getting into that was very that spoke to me was, well, this is how I am, and if you don't like it, there's the door. And
yeah, we're not for everybody.
yeah,
like,
and that's totally
not
okay.
everybody's going to like me. And
there's an audience somewhere willing to hear.
Yeah,
there's
100% okay.
there's 8 billion people on the planet. I think we can all find our crowd. We may just have to hunt for it. I am one of those that I've had to hunt for it, and I found
Same.
people along the
Same.
way.
Yeah,
and
same.
that's totally fine. It's I've just always been like, I like doing my own. I like my own style. Like I don't do.
I don't want to fit in.
Yeah, I don't want to. Like you see on
find
social.
conforming very
Yeah.
boring.
Well, like it's not even conforming. It's like I've talked to you about this because one of the things we've talked about is my kind of sometimes weird dating life. Welcome to
all
being a
have
teenager or a early 20-year-old in the 2020s. Dating's weird these days sometimes, but and like seeing well, this is what girls want and this is what guys want and this is how you should dress, and like I'm like, if you talk to any girl or any guy ever and not get all your information from social media, you'll learn that all of this is not helpful.
No.
Like just
I have this conversation often.
do your own thing.
Yeah. Just be you.
Yeah, just
That's
and
the
if you don't know,
that's the authenticity.
and if you
piece
don't
of-
know what you is, explore,
right,
You know.
fail.
fail,
Explore
and trust
fail.
in yourself.
And then the third one, which is what we'll wrap up with, is the trust, because that was another key point that we
Yeah.
were talking about the other day, was you got to trust the process.
Yeah.
And I always say you got to let go of the expectations.
Well, and that, going back to the story with Zach,
Yeah.
the Zach Brown guys, that's where the kind of, I guess, where we kind of get to now
Yeah.
is in that getting to the top of the mountain and then going, okay, well, maybe I'm still doing what I want to do, and but I want to do it differently. you know, and I had to trust in myself even when everybody was kind of looking at me like I lost it, including some of those guys.
Yeah.
It's like, or midlife crisis or not much, you know, like
You're not even close to midlife.
like, you know,
Yeah.
and I've always been older for my age, but you know, like going, you know, well, maybe blues is not what I want to do, or, you know, and then get to country, and well, maybe country's not what I want to do, and then getting to rock, and I'm like, well, maybe this is not what I want to do, and, you know, and honestly, what I eventually came to is, and it was talking to you recently, the last, 3 weeks, was, you know, I've been working on a project kind of not secretly, but just by myself in my bedroom, you know, one of those that I have no expectations, I have no limitations, I have no, you know, the only rules are I'm going to see how far I can go by myself, simply because I kind of want to see what I can do. You know, I want to, again, I want to explore, follow my butt, and trust in myself. And
learn and grow.
Yeah, and learn and grow. And what I ended up finding in that was maybe not anything music related. What I ended up having the most creativity for or what I felt like over the summer was like I was getting to a point where I was kind of banging my head against a wall. Yeah. Maybe I needed to get out of the house. Maybe I needed to not look at it for a week, because sometimes you need that too.
No, yeah.
Everybody needs a break from everything sometimes. You know, you take, you know, go to any like family function where the 7th and 8th cousins are there, and you'll be there for an hour, and you're like, okay, I need 5 minutes on the porch, and then I'm totally good to come back in. You know, then I'll come back in, and I'm totally social
all the time.
Yeah,
literally.
But I think what I found in it was, you know, and I kind of talking to you about it was I kind of said it and went, wait, that doesn't sound like me. I remember where you kind of even like,
I was like,
yeah, duh. And I was like, well, maybe this isn't the only thing I want to do. Like maybe my pipes are clogged up here because I've got so much other stuff, you know, I got so much other things to be creative about that I didn't know, or maybe even didn't think I was capable of, that I need to get out of my system. And then music suddenly starts flowing again. Like, you know,
funny how that works.
Well, because we had talked about, you know, like acting.
Yeah.
I've gotten into comic book writing. I had kind of accidentally, on the drive home from that session, 4 minutes down the road, I was literally on the phone with somebody when it kind of popped to me, was an idea for a Batman story. I was like, oh my God, why has nobody ever come up with this before? This is the best creative idea, music or not, that I've come up with in a year.
Yeah.
Like, but you know, honestly, when I was thinking about all the other possibilities, it felt like the weight of music kind of came off. Like, okay, I can do this, and like,
so there's no more pressure.
Yeah,
it's like
the pressure I had put on myself, and the not even expectation, but the like, because it wasn't even expectation. It was like, this is what I want so bad. You know, this is what I think I'm capable of, and I totally think I'm even with other things in my life, I still think I'm capable of playing the Sphere in Vegas. I think I'm capable of having 10 albums to my name, as 100%. Anybody is.
I want free tickets.
No, we'll make that work.
There. I get free tickets.
We'll make that work. But you know, like, you know, I think it almost like the image became clearer of that when I started thinking about other things, which is this weird, like, because I was almost even afraid in the moment of like, well, kind of having to, you know, there's the excitement and the anxiety. Yeah. The excitement of, oh, wow, maybe this joke I've had about playing Scarecrow all my life, I might actually could do that one day. James Gunn, call me. But, you know, like David Zaslav, call me. DC, Warner Brothers, here's my number at the bottom of the screen. But, you know, and thinking about just not even putting a parameter to what creative work does, but just being the idea of my career, my job, my, you know, my purpose, and I've always known this. We've talked about this. My purpose is whatever the form is speaking through art. is
Yes.
helping people through art. We talked about when the new Superman movie, speaking of DC and James Gunn, came out. I felt for the first, it was the first movie, and I've always loved movies, especially superhero movies, but it was the first movie I was like, okay, this is hitting a little too close to home. Like, this is like, you ever have that song where you're like, I think they're talking about me?
Yeah.
Like, not that I'm going to
Often.
put on a red, white, and blue tights and suddenly start flying, but feeling like I have feeling like an
you
outcast.
You connected.
Well, feeling like an outcast that has a platform to, be able to help people in whatever way they need it, that connected with me of being judged for being different, being, but seeing in that the opportunity to go, to harkening back to that wrestler I talked about, CM Punk, the voice of the voiceless. That's his shtick.
Yeah.
That's where Superman, this particular iteration, spoke to me.
Right.
And I was like, well, that is the best way to put it, in film of what I try to do at the time, especially with music.
Yeah.
If there was anybody that kind of really taught me that, it was Chris Martin of Coldplay. Just listening to how he writes. And take any video from Brazil and there's 78,000 people crying and screaming and, they're belting out Sky Full of Stars, and all 78,000 people have a very different reason for being there, but all that one little song helped them in some way. You hear, this actor saved my life. This
is gonna
song saved
we've talked
me
about this.
in my darkest hour. This,
Pink, the artist, has saved my life multiple times. I swear to God, every song she's ever written, I'm like,
well, like for me, the blues artist, guitar player Joe Bonamassa it was the first time at 12, 13 years old that I saw, oh, that's what that looks like. That's what that image in my head that I think I'm capable of and I want to do. That's what it actually looks like. And I stood 7 feet from it for 2 hours and literally left a changed man. And it is that moment that's even gotten me to go. It's funny how seeing a musician at 13 years old has made me decide at 20 years old that I might be into acting. Because
who knew?
Yeah,
but
to me,
reality
I love
is
that kind of tracing how things
100%.
go and seeing how the story. One of the thing that I love creatively more than anything else is storytelling. I am a reluctant fan sometimes of the Star Wars prequels because I can see the story they're trying to tell, even if they're not always telling it in the best way.
I'm not going to be popular on this, but I am not a Star Wars fan.
Totally okay. Not
my daughter would disagree with you.
There's a place Star Trek is for everybody.
I'm not a Star Trek. I'm not a Trekkie either.
It's okay to be wrong.
I'm more of like a Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings.
Well, look, it's okay to be wrong. It's all right.
I mean,
Lord of the Rings is great. Harry Potter's great. I liked it as a kid at one point.
It was
but
just fun.
I think we all want to be Viggo Mortensen and Two Towers and everything
you might.
a little bit. Well, I mean, I think every you want to.
I wanted to be an elf.
I watched a channel on YouTube called Cinema Therapy that kind of led me to being really interested in therapy, frankly. And one of their episodes they did on Aragorn, and this is the you want to know what good masculinity looks like. Watch Lord of the Rings and pay attention to Aragorn.
Positive
That's
masculinity,
it. Yeah. And not that I ever really struggled with toxic masculinity that I know of, at least. But it's just an Aragorn joke. But for going back to storytelling, I've always been interested in storytelling, whether it's songwriting or movies. As a kid, I was obsessed with behind the scenes of movies, and particularly all the superhero movies, the Star Wars movies, even Indiana Jones, and always been interested in how to tell a thought-provoking story. I reference to one of my favorite creatives of all time, no matter what the medium is Christopher Nolan. Just because, again, that outcast thing of he tells a story in a way that if you're not paying attention to every single moment, you're not going to get.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the one of my favorite films of all time, Oppenheimer, that he did most recently, you know, from the 0.00 minute mark to the very end is 100 miles an hour. And if you
Yeah, it was a
if you
good
go
movie.
and take a bathroom break, you're going to be totally lost when you come
pause.
back. But like he again, you know, you go back to that neurodivergent thing of the you know, we may get to the same place, but how we get there is really totally different.
Totally different.
Because have you ever sat in math class and did a problem totally wrong and still got the right
Yes.
answer, and your math teacher go, I don't know how in the heck you did
Yeah,
this,
but
but
it's-
okay, if it worked, it worked.
Oh, I can't do math now because they do it totally different than when I
Oh, yeah,
was raised.
they
Yeah, way
That was
different.
that was
My
always
daughter
my
would come home and I'd be like, ask your father.
yeah, that was always my one subject that I was like, nope.
Common for neurodivergence, actually.
Well,
Very
at least,
common.
again, every outcast has their group somewhere. You just
yeah,
got to find it.
that's right.
You know, math class apparently is not our group.
No. So where are you now in your journey?
Well, I think now I'm in a explore discovery place
Still
of like,
exploring.
you know, of really like I actually today, you know, just at lunch texted an actor friend of mine that actually taught my sister for a couple of months, but she seemed to love him. You know, just to like, I want to learn about it. I kind of want to be you know, I kind of want to not know anything about it for a little while and just, you know, if anything, you know, don't even know what I'm looking for.
Right.
You know, like right now, there's almost a little bit of like happiness and freeness in like, I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm just being open to whatever. More often than not, especially as a creative person, your best ideas come up with when you aren't focused on it. Like I'm one of those that my best ideas come when I've got my eye off the ball, which means that I'm going to be looking at acting or comic book
Right,
writing
and
or
something else is
screenplay
gonna-
writing, and this is when I'm going to have the music idea of the century.
Yeah.
You know, because that's how I work, and
a
I'm
positive
totally cool with that.
distraction.
You know, like I would rather it work that way than not have any ideas at all. But you know, like you know. Again, like I said, I don't know.
You're
I have
still
read-
discovering.
Yeah,
You're still in the knowledge, you know, kind of what you don't want.
Yeah.
Some of what you don't
Yeah,
want,
like-
and you're just kind of just putting your toes, like wetting your toe into some things
Well,
that
like I can
kinda
you know,
intrigue you.
Well, I think like anything, I can kind of come up with not a goalpost, not even a goal, but like that would be cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like if I decided, and the other thing that I'm really not stressing to myself, but like really adhering to is like the whole point of adding things to my music repertoire is not getting stuck in one thing. Because I think I was kind of stuck to one thing in a comfort. But now I'm stepping out of
Yes.
my comfort zone.
Yay.
And I go, okay, I think the most uncomfortable but the most cool thing that I could do right now is not doing just one thing.
Absolutely.
It's doing, if I want to do music,
Multiple.
comic book writing, screenplay, you know, my mom always said I'm going to be a composer for film.
Yeah.
I'm listening to Hans Zimmer interviews, John Williams.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, if I, you know,
Dive in.
I would. There is no rock and roll artist that I would love to be more than I would love to be John Williams in terms of writing music that makes you feel.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah, I
like
get it.
Superman, Star Wars, Harry Potter, you know, Jaws.
Yeah.
Let's keep going down the list.
Oh,
There's
gosh,
like
yeah.
18 things. Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
E.T. Like the man can make the. I have cried more to John Williams and Hans Zimmer than any. You know, like the song that makes me probably cry the most is Chris Cornell's "Nothing Compares to You." I have not cried as hard to that as I have to Leia's theme in, you know, Empire Strikes Back or whatever. Something about that, you know. The one problem with that is I have no interest in learning music theory.
Yeah, that's
Welcome to being a guitar player.
Yeah.
We don't want anything to
It's a
do with
little
that
boring.
numbers and
Yeah,
dot stuff.
kind of boring.
But I also see when Hans Zimmer goes on the road with his orchestra, he's at the front of a stage with a rock guitar, and I think he did all right. I mean, Mr. Pirates of the Caribbean.
He definitely did all right.
But you know, so I think for me, I'm in a little bit of a place of discovery and going, you know, learning. I don't know anything of, you know, music because of my family's influence on it. I kind of knew some things, which is really helpful. There's almost a little bit though of a beauty in acting of I don't know anything about it. I can kind of not get a preconceived notion in my head. I can kind of not get an expectation. I can go, okay, what would I love to do if I were an actor? What are some of the movies I would love to do? Well, obviously, even if I'm Stormtrooper number 317, it would be awesome to be in a Star Wars.
I want to be an orc.
Yeah, like
Just putting it out there. I want to be an orc.
Like, well, like I would love. I love Cillian Murphy. I will watch pretty much anything Cillian Murphy, Tom Hardy, and Christian Bale are in.
Yeah.
And Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is God. You know, if I could live to be 10% of Harrison Ford's cool.
Whatever that TV show, watch it. It's really good.
Like if I could live to be 10% of Harrison Ford's cool, I'll be a happy man when I'm gone.
Like from several people,
but he's just that guy. Yeah, he's Indiana Jones. It's Han Solo. It's you know.
Yeah.
But you know, and so of Cillian Murphy and Tom Hardy, I love Peaky Blinders. I just recently finally watched it with my mom.
I couldn't get into it. I tried.
You gotta watch it with subtitles if you don't know English accents.
No,
like my dad's rewatching it and he's like, I have to have subtitles that are that big because I'm like, I don't understand a thing they're saying. I have always been interested in English culture and you know, and I have some English friends and stuff like that.
I'm Canadian, and that's the next best thing.
Yeah. But like, so I can every now and then they'll say something like, I don't know anything about it. But that being said, it'd be awesome to be like in an old 1920s gangster movie.
So I'm going to challenge you, because if you find that hard to understand, I want you to go look up Newfoundlander speech and tell me if you can understand them, because everybody I know, and I took friends over to Newfoundland, and I can understand it because I grew up around it, but most people can't. It's like it's almost Irishy, but like in a really...
Look, you know, my thing, ladies, if you're listening, I like redheads. One of my dream places to travel is Ireland, and I'm fairly certain I don't know whether or not I will be coming back.
Yeah. I came back. It was my bucket list trip.
But I
loved it.
My bucket list trip as a kid was Sydney, Australia, and I did that at 15, 16 years old just by accident.
Mine's
just
New
was a work
Zealand
thing
right
for my
now.
Parents.
New Zealand's mine right now.
Okay, Lord of the Rings fan. Yeah, but but so you know, like. Again, thinking about, okay, I think I'm in the place now of like, okay, I don't know anything about it. I don't even know. I have read 2 comic books and have decided, you know what, I think I'd be into this, like doing this. I've literally read Batman Year One and Batman The Long Halloween. That's it.
But that's the gut feeling. That's that drive.
You're drawn to it. I
have to listen to it.
Yeah, and so, you know, I would love to write again. I had an idea for a Batman comic. I wouldn't even know where to begin of like, obviously you got to get some copyright from Warner Brothers and permission. Like there's all kinds of loopholes you got to, jump through that I would totally be willing to, but I don't even know how to write a comic book. If there is a way to do it.
Well, that's the fun part.
That's the fun part. So I'm at the point now where I'm just thinking about, okay, what would I love to do? As an actor, I would love to be in a Star Wars or a space thing. I'd love to be in a superhero thing, preferably Scarecrow.
Right.
I love to be in a gangster thing. I love history. It would be cool to be in a historical biography film, like an Oppenheimer, like, Rami Malek with Bohemian Rhapsody, especially as a musician. I don't know if there's a musician I look like or anything like that, but that would be cool because it connects multiple things I'm into as well.
100%.
The superhero thing connects to the comic book thing,
Funny how it all kind of interweaves.
Well, again, it all goes back to storytelling and creative arts. That is my passion in life more than anything. one of the things that I'm now just now thinking about that I jokingly said as a very little kid was a Lego designer. I don't know anything about it, but I could probably do
Sounds
it.
fun.
Yeah, as it's the thing that I spend the most money on.
Yeah.
Look, I'm very my parents love me enough to let me live at home.
Well, my daughter's got
I'm
Legos
able
up
to,
the
yeah.
wazoo.
So so my money and I work
It's
a
a
good enough
thing.
job that
It's
I'm
like a
able to
legit
do.
thing.
I have.
I've dated grown men
Yeah.
that have
Look,
Lego collections.
you
Like,
can
it's
either
a thing.
my thing is, well, I could be spending it on like hardcore drugs. I would much rather spend it on
Lego. So,
a $800
hobby.
Millennium Falcon. I think we would all rather me spend it on that. But
Yes, definitely. Don't do drugs.
but yeah, so I think, like I said, for me, I'm in a discovery phase and learning what I learned, asking around, and just thinking of maybe even more of my time right now is just thinking about what it's like, envisioning it. I'm an envision guy, not even getting a preconceived notion, but like, I have an envisionment of what it's like to play on stage in front of 70,000 people. I can see me doing it.
Yeah.
I can.
Oh, and that's all part of manifesting.
Yeah.
Which is a whole other
Again,
podcast.
yeah.
Like,
I'm right there with you.
manifesting is you see it, you feel it, and
Yeah.
like you already
Like
have
you-
it. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
exactly what I
Oh,
was going to
gosh,
say.
yeah.
Like you already have it. And how do you, so I'm like, well, how do I already
I did
live
that with
my
this
life?
podcast. To be honest with you,
Well,
I did the same thing.
For years, and my parents probably like, who the heck is he talking to in his room? I have jokingly, and I do this half the time to figure out myself. When I wasn't going to therapy, I was my own therapist in interviewing myself.
Heck yeah.
I did it as a kid, not knowing I was doing it. I've done it as an adult, still do it to this day, even when I'm driving in the car or at work, even if it's not out loud, of just asking myself questions about it, and sometimes asking like you already got it, asking like, let's say I did get hired by James Gunn, again, call me. But, let's say I did get hired by James Gunn to play Scarecrow in the next Batman thing. Prepare now. What is your philosophy behind this character? What am I watching now to set me up for success? What are other media, like, am I watching Bill Skarsgård in It to get, Scarecrow's whole thing is fear. Well, how do you capture fear? What are good examples in acting of making something fearful? Well, the giant freaking clown in It is a pretty good way of going about it.
I honestly have never seen it.
I've never seen it either because I don't like clowns. I don't do I don't do clowns. I don't do spiders.
I just never.
The only clown I find acceptable is the Joker.
I love Art though.
Yeah,
What's his name? Art the clown.
Oh,
the Terrifier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my sister's a massive fan.
I love Art.
I would be perfectly fine with David Howard Newton or David Howard Thornton, I think is his name. I would be perfectly fine with him being my next Joker. So and I did this with music. It's some, again, I've already kind of living like I've done it. Like what would you say after you've played a show to 70,000 people in the middle of Brazil? What is that? What are you feeling in that moment?
Yes.
Is it a success? Is it like is it, again, a healthy anxiety of like, I'm going to go put on the greatest thing ever, envision, like I'm even envisioning, as a comic book writer, I have always, especially as a kid, I liked illustrating, even though I was never really all that great about it.
Yeah.
I just never had training, and that's half the argument. But like I've already kind of got a little bit of a vision of what my particular idea for my Batman story I came up with, what the cover looks like.
So you're already on the roll here.
Yeah.
You're like already.
I don't know anything about it,
but
I don't know anything about it, but I'm
following
getting, I'm envisioning, okay, what does it look like me doing this?
Amazing.
Do,
Good for you.
and
That's
yeah, I mean, that's
hard to do.
That's the way.
That's really hard to do.
And what's crazy is, for me, it's always, that's easy. I don't know why.
That's great.
Yeah,
Like,
that is
good.
always.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just because I've done it. That was my way of
I can't wait.
escapism a little bit.
I cannot wait to see what you do.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see how your life unfolds from the point I've met you on.
Look, all I know
Because-
is I have decided I am a passenger in my own life because the amount of things that happen where I'm like, I couldn't have made that up. You know, it's the Kevin Hart.
Down the rabbit hole.
I couldn't have wrote this.
It's like an acid
you know,
trip.
Yeah,
Like, nobody
I,
would believe me.
I couldn't have. You know, you couldn't have written half of my life. Like,
Right.
you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
I'm
I get
20
it.
and going through all this stuff. Like, you know, it's again exciting.
Oh gosh.
You know,
it should be exciting.
yeah.
I have a tattoo quote on my back from a Pink song, and it says, "Have you ever looked fear in the face and said, I just don't care?"
That's good.
And yes, multiple times. And that quote just always kind of stuck out to me because I'm like, yeah, and that's what we need to do is look fear in the face and say, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm doing this
Well,
anyway.
and you know, another really good cinema therapy episode that I watched is about fear, and one of the things they said is fear is not a bad thing. Like if you any emotion, whether it's anger, happiness, it is your action, how you use that emotion, what you do with it. When you're angry about something in the world, maybe instead of either putting that all inside you and now you feel horrible for the next day, or instead of spewing it out on Twitter, we're all guilty of it. What can you, if something in the world, an issue bothers you, what can you, even if it's a tiny small bit, what can you do about it? It's the Superman thing. You have, all of us have power, and if there's something you're afraid of,
I say
sometimes that's a
challenge
way of
that,
saying to do it.
Well,
like
and
skydiving.
you challenge it.
I personally haven't, not necessarily afraid of it, but I don't really have any interest of jumping out of a plane at 30,000 feet.
We are going.
But I also go, if somebody offers me,
like there's one that does it local, we're going. We're doing
like
it.
if somebody offers it to me, I may do it simply because I'm afraid of it.
Yeah.
Spiders, on the other hand, I don't care. Those are shotgun worthy. Like, I get it. They're great for the environment. Just keep them all the way over there. Just make sure they're 200 feet away.
I'm very claustrophobic. I mean, we all have our fears. We all have those things where
Well, and
I don't like roller coasters. I don't like the way they make me feel.
Well,
I don't like that feeling.
And fear sometimes is to me, I think fear is a good thing sometimes. Sometimes it's telling you either, hey, you should do this because you're afraid of it, skydiving, for example, or hey, maybe this is not what you need to be doing because you're afraid of asking this girl out, or because you don't like. Maybe that's the way the way the universe is trying to tell you, don't do it. And
or it's the way the universe. I will challenge you in this. It's the way the universe is saying maybe you have a negative core belief.
Yeah.
That's causing that fear that you need to challenge,
Mm-hmm.
that you need to change the way you think of why not ask the girl out?
Again, going back to the sky, like sometimes the fear is to push you to do it,
or to change the way you're thinking about it.
It's a challenge, it's a challenge your current worldview on whatever. You're kind of goes back to afraid of change.
Change is hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, and
I love it myself.
Well, and I think it's one of those things that everybody kind of has to learn about. Like nobody's born liking change because guess what? We're humans. We don't like change inherently. But it's like anything. You need, because we joked about this with my dating life. Is like, I just need a normal example and I'd be so much more reinvigorated. Like, can I have a normal, like, even if it doesn't go anywhere, have one date. It was
like
great,
typical,
but it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Mine, as you know, aren't exactly typical. I've had some non-typical examples, but like
it's coming though. It's coming. I feel it.
All I know is I'm building up I like to think anytime something negative happens, it's just throwing another penny Just
like
throwing
that
another
failure
dollar
thing.
in the
You
swear jar.
You learn,
Yeah.
and now we're gonna grow from it. What can we do
we
different
we building
next
up
time?
I like to think of it as a building up points. It's building up every dollar you spend and lose at the casino. Please gamble responsibly. But every dollar you lose in the the slot machine is technically just adding it to the pool.
Well,
You just gotta
if
play
you wanna
long
look
enough.
at it that way, yeah.
You gotta play long enough, and then you hit the jackpot. Luckily, in life, I personally am a believer of the more that the more negative things that happen for you, as long as you're aware and open and
Don't let
able
it
to
consume
receive
you.
it.
Yeah.
Every negative thing builds up, and eventually you're going to cash out. Like,
Yes.
and you going me. Not that I've had a horrible life or anything
Yeah.
like that. I've had a pretty amazing life, a beautiful life, but since COVID, I've had some weird negative things that happen, like we all do.
We all have, yeah.
And like everybody else, I'm building up that negative credit, so when I cash it
cash
in,
in.
it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And
But it's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
And don't stay in the victim mentality,
Yeah, I
which
mean-
a lot of people tend to do because it's easy to be negative. It's easy to be woe
well,
is
I think
me.
it's not even easy to be negative. It's just easy to get consumed by it. One of my another moment in film that really truly spoke to me was Ted Lasso. That is a character.
It's a great show.
Is a well, hey now, wait a minute, we're gonna sit down and talk about
He's
this.
like a real genuine person. Like,
one of the
or
things
character.
one of the things that he said is be a goldfish.
Yeah.
Like the moment something negative happens, deal with it. All right, it didn't, not that it didn't happen, but move forward. That's how I look at things. It's like on to the next.
Yeah.
There's an actors roundtable that every now and then I'll see it pop back up on my TikTok. And it's like Tom Hanks and Shia LaBeouf and a bunch. It's 7 or 8 big deal actors.
Yeah.
And and Tom Hanks is talking about the phrase "this too shall pass," which is a very powerful phrase and is oftentimes used when negative things are happening. But it also is talking about when positive things happen. You think you're on the top of the mountain. Well, this too shall pass. Going back to another actor. I'm not a huge reader. I didn't read it. I listened to it because you're going to hear it in his voice anyways. Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights, he talked about life is lived in the median. The moments of low and high are moments. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not.
That's not where you're living.
Especially
They're highlights and lowlights.
Well, especially here in the U.S., we're a very extreme country. Everything is to the extreme, whether it's right or left, or it's good or bad, or down or up, or whatever. We're an extreme. We take things to the extreme, and sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, will you shut up about it? But it's okay.
We need to live in the median.
Life is supposed to be lived in the median and with moments of extreme.
Yes.
And that's the way that I tried. Another great film quote is from The Hitman's Bodyguard, where with Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson and Salma Hayek, one of my family's favorite movies, and he goes, "Boring's always best," because he's a bodyguard for like very notorious criminals, so a boring day on the job for them is good. And, that means nothing happened. No news is good news.
Yes.
So I'm like the median, the boring days is actually what, it's actually what life is, with moments of extreme.
Yes.
Positive and negative.
Yes. Oh gosh, yeah. Yes, absolutely. Well, to bring it all in and to like sum it up, our conversations really, because it's been over weeks, but the 3 main takeaways for finding your purpose as a young person who's in the middle of it.
Yeah, in the smack middle of it.
Would be know what you don't want.
Well, be one. The kind of two-sided it is: be willing to explore, and knowing what you don't want, but knowing what you do want. Knowing what you don't want is equally as important.
Yes, and then failure.
Failure is an option.
Is an option, and very important because it builds your character. It builds you learn and grow from it.
Well, it goes kind of back to, if you fail at it, well, you know you don't want that.
That's right. Or you learn from it and you just do better
Or
next time.
you try again.
Yeah. And then the third, probably one of the most important, is the trust. Trust in yourself. Trust your intuition. Trust your gut. Trust that everything works out in your favor.
Yeah. And, one of the places there is like, I've been trusting in myself even though I think I've lost it.
Yeah.
Which is totally cool too. That's the amount of times, because after a while, so many people asking you, do you have a plan B? Like I was talking about earlier, can kind of get to you where you're like,
Yes.
man, why is everybody making me feel like I can't do this? Like, and
What's
it's
your-
not coming
yeah.
from malice. It's coming from genuine, we want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
But we're also not sure you're going to succeed at this. So you're like, I don't know how to feel, but also
7,
going,
6, 7.
all I can do is trust my gut.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having
and
me.
Giving us your perspective, and definitely want you to come back and we'll do a music.
Yeah, I think that's
music and mental health because it's just huge for me. And we could go on forever about it for sure. And I know your dad's sitting there going, "Shut up!
Oh my God,
Will you just shut up already?"
Yeah, it's past my bedtime already.
They're still going.